I don't think that there's any better sports town in America than Detroit. Woodward Avenue, all 4 sports teams play on the same block. And you know what's also number one? Some one-of-ones that the Detroit Tigers have the courtesy of employing, and that's Casey Mize, Spencer Torkelson.
Hey, as we all know, Spencer Torkelson and Casey Mize have not lived up to their draft status coming into this year. That's obvious. Everybody would agree with it. But this season, at least so far, in a very small sample size, particularly for Casey Mize, who only made 1 start, the 1-1s are playing like 1-1s. They're not just being serviceable. They're not just being MLB players. They're both playing great. And with Spencer Torkelson, I understand that lately, I think he's 1 for his last 12. But over the totality of the first 6 games, he has a batting average over 300 and an OPS of 990.
Jeez.
We would have given anything for that to start the year. And we all know how he started the season very, very strong, particularly on the opening day game against the Dodgers, not swinging at any bad pitches and hammering the mistake. I love his approach at the plate. You're seeing that patience that he showed more in the minor leagues and at Arizona State. I understand he's struggled a little bit in the past couple of games in particular, but he looks different. He doesn't look lost like he did at the beginning of last year when he ended up getting sent down. Love to see Spencer Torkelson actually playing like a 1-1, and I hope that he can keep this up throughout the year. And the default thing with all of this is that you're facing White Sox pitching at this series, so look for Spencer Torkelson to you know what? I'm calling for 1 torque bomb in this series. Just 1. And that's not a crazy prediction, by the way. 1 torque bomb.
And you know what? The way he's saying that, I wouldn't be surprised if there were 2 out of torque. And, you know, you're saying a lot of good things that about torque that we also saw some remnants of towards the second half of last season.
Sure.
And he played an instrumental role in this Detroit Tigers team, being one of the best teams, if not the best team in all of baseball the last 40 games of the season. And I remember, KG, there was a point in time where you were like, you know what? I think we're done with torque.
Yeah.
But after that run, you were like, you know what? I'm willing to see what's happening, but he got to make something happen. And just like Parker Meadows when he went down to Toledo and came back and it just looked like everything was figured out mentally, Spencer Torkelson has looked at like that, not just this season, but going back to last year, he looked like it was a little different approach at the plate. This year, he looks confident in his approach at the plate. Not like he's trying to figure things out anymore.
Yeah.
As if he has everything figured out. And you hope that it continues because the Detroit Tigers are going to absolutely need that, not just for now while they're trying to tread the injury waters, but even when they do get healthy, and we saw that last year.
Yeah, and let's be clear, it wasn't just me or, you know, some of us saying that. The Tigers went out there in the media and kind of put pressure on Spencer Torkelson. They needed him to perform. And listen, we all know that, you know, he came back, you know, from AAA last year. And, you know, he struggled a little bit, but he was able to come on at the end of the year. He contributed, but in the playoffs, he kind of tailed off.
Yeah.
So, but this year, he seems to have made a lot of changes. He seems to have humbled himself in a lot of ways, worked on his stance, you know, just some of his approaches at the plate. And you can see it. Like, it's a clear change that he's made, and it's working for him. And I love how people bring up the 0-12. The man was on a 5-game hit streak. So, listen, you're not going to go out there every single game and get a knock or a homer or whatever, but as long as he can just keep that confident approach at the plate, that's what you want to see, because more times than not, he'll be able to put some balls in play.
Hey, speaking of which, Neil Rule is in the chat.
God.
Shout out Neil. He's going to be here 11-1.
Neil
Big
starting
D
early,
energy.
huh?
Torkelson, 1 for 12 with 6 Ks in his last 3 games. Is he back? So even better than back. And as KG said, in the totality of 6 games, his OPS is 990.
Yeah,
you would take that 100 times out of 100. At this point, as KG was saying, what do you want him to do? Hit 500 with a 1,300 OPS in the first 6 games? Spencer Torkelson's been fine. And I will admit, I was somebody who did not expect much from him. I was about ready to, you know, throw some dirt on his Tigers grave. But at least in these first 6 games, he has showed out, and he's been the 1-1 that we really are going to need him to be if the Tigers are going to continue to tread water with all of the injuries. And just, I like what I see at the plate because the numbers tell you that it's different, but your eyes also tell you that it's different. He is a more confident hitter, I think, right now than he's really ever been.
And that's what makes this one for his last 12 a little bit, that to me makes it a little bit different. I'm looking forward to seeing what Spencer Torkelson and and this Tigers team is going to be from a standpoint of resiliency. Can they bounce back? Is he going to have an opportunity to go and say, you know what, I'm not shaking mentally? Because that's what's kept Spencer Torkelson down his entire career. When you go into a slump, is it inception where you try to get out, but now you find yourself another layer deeper? But with how he's looked at the plate this year, I expect him to be able to bounce back from this because you're right. Baseball is a very, very, very fickle sport. And you'll go through some cold streaks. We've seen some of the best players in Tigers uniforms do this. So with Torkelson, we know that the foundation is there. Obviously, being a #1 draft pick, we know that the skill set, the tools are there. And the one thing that all of us has wondered is he just not a player where it's translating to the big leagues, or is it a situation where he just has to get his mind right? And that's where, if it is more mental than what I believe to be, I believe it's more mental than skill. That's why I'm confident in him. Players progress. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer for a player to figure it out, but this is that time where Torque is going to have to really, really bear down, block out the noise, and continue to be, over the last stretch of almost 50 games now, 45, 50 games, one of the more positive Detroit Tigers.
Absolutely. And speaking of 1-1s, I got to ask you this, KG. Has Casey Mize' splitter ever looked better than in that last start?
It has not. You ain't seen that boy look like that since he came into the league, man. No, it's good to see Casey Mize, get back on that bandwagon. And y'all know, like, last year, I was accepting of anything that he gave us. I was just like, let's give him the year. Let's let him figure it out. He's battled a lot of injuries, hasn't really had the repetition to go in there and be a consistent pitcher in this league. But ever since the start of this spring training, man, he's come out and he looks like he has a plan. He's executing his pitches, and it's not just the splitter. His fastball look good, slider look good. Most of the pitches in his repertoire seem to be pretty spot on right now. And we all know that he has the stuff. That was never in question with him. It was just the durability. Could he stay healthy? And I think going forward, we will see a better Casey Mize.
No, let's be honest. Health has always been the biggest issue when it comes to Casey Mize. He had a Tommy John and then an injury after that, which made his recovery process even longer. And then last year, on some sort of cosmic terrible luck, he caught a pop fly and ended up on the 60-day IL. And that's why when there's usually a high pop-up, you don't want pitchers fielding it. Like, any corner infielder or catcher will usually call the pitcher off, and, hey, that's probably why. But Casey Mize, the fact that he's healthy, you're seeing, and this is what I alluded to with Spencer Torkelson that I'm going to allude to even more with Casey Mize. It's not just that he went out there and looked serviceable. It's not that he just went out there and gave you 5 innings of a pretty good ball. He went out there and gave you 5 2/3 of 1-hit, 0-run baseball.
Yes.
He not only looked good, he looked like a 1-1. He looked like he has that electric stuff that the Tigers saw when they drafted him #1 overall, and he was hitting his spots. He had great command. It was just a beautiful thing to watch. He looked like an ace out there, and I know I'm probably going a little bit too far with that. We need to see him do it more consistently, but Casey Mize, he's just so talented and got so much in his repertoire. And if he can be a guy who gives you, I called for maybe an ERA under 4. Even if it's 3.80, you would take that 100 times out of 100. But what if he can be even better than that? I hope that last start is indicative of more of what he'll be throughout the season.
Yeah, and that's the real interesting and tantalizing part with these Detroit Tigers. You're talking about a team that came off of a playoff run. You're talking about a team that A.J. Hinch, he's instilled a different level of confidence in these players. Some of these guys are just looking confident, both pitchers, batters, and I do believe that that's going to play a big dividends for this Tigers team. They know that they're winners. They know that they have an opportunity to battle with the top of the AL Central because they took them to 7 games last year, and that's where when you do have a pitcher like a Casey Mize, when you're talking about this team trying to do more than just tread water, especially if they have aspirations of going further and accomplishing more than they did last year, that's where Casey Mize, being this good, gives you an opportunity, honestly, to win a whole lot more games than just treading 500. They're not playing the Dodgers every single game.
Oh, no, absolutely not. In fact, they probably played the hardest series that they'll play all year to start the season, and that's certainly encouraging. Certainly this one that they're about to play is going to be easier, but Crazy Clown in the chat, it's Casey's second year back from Tommy John, and last year was a freak accident. He has Cy Young Award in him.
He got the type of stuff to get that.
Right. No, I understand. I understand.
Right, let him live.
That was from Crazy Clown and not me. And obviously, I'm not willing to say Cy Young at this point. But If every single start he has I'm kidding. That's obviously not going to happen. But he's got the stuff. He's got the command. Javi's
damn right he is.
Spencer Raxter, Javi's hitting 300. He is hitting 300, 3 for 10, right? 3
Yeah.
for 10 on the season.
Wow, shout
Hey,
out
shout
to
out.
Javi. Is he? Hey, Javi, watch KG.
He's
is
back.
Is he back?
He's back.
Is
Praise
Neil-
Javier.
Is Neil
Oh,
still in the chat?
Think about this, guys. Javi Baez, 300 average. Spencer Torkelson, 990 OPS. Casey Mize, ERA of 0.00.
It's a dream season.
Dream season.
Well,
2-4.
that's what I'm
Dream
saying. I
season.
feel like you can lean into the, a little bit more of the belief in these players because you're not talking about lower drafted, lower expected players. You're talking players that came in with some higher expectations, and so to see them starting to get it right now, I do believe in that a little bit more. Obviously, like we keep saying with baseball, it's something that you have to see continue, but. Out of what I saw to Spencer Torkelson last year, out of what we know with Casey Mize, and it largely being, can you stay healthy to better aid in the development of a pitcher with the stuff that he has? That's where I am confident in these players as long as they're out there on the field.
Well, speaking of players that came in with higher expectations than the ones that we just mentioned, Tigers had 2 All-Stars last year, and so far when it comes to both of those players, it's been a bit
Hey,
Okay.
so here's the thing.
Yes.
You
I
can't
totally
have
forget
this
we're on camera,
conversation
by the
without
way.
you two in the conversation piece. But Drew, please tell Neil how you feel about Javi Baez,
Oh,
and do
God.
you think
Are you setting me up right now?
Is there a future to it or whatever? I want
I'm
to
excited,
know.
I'm excited that he bet $5 to win 700 on a home run today
Not
with Javi
just
Baez.
today, but as the third baseman and stuff like that. Are you a Javi Baez fan, Drew?
No, I'm not. I can't believe they tried to sell us that Javi Baez with his hip surgery or
Yep.
whatever. That
New hip.
oh, if they just
New
fix
hip
his
Javi.
Drew, that's new hip Javi. Get it right. That's new hip Javi. I was told.
No, I'm stunned they tried to sell us this again because
No,
they
for
tried to
real.
sell us last offseason too.
It don't take much.
And I'm like, no, his OPS is going down. He's getting older. There's no way he's going to find himself. Is
Drew,
there?
look, man, and I appreciate you saying that because he is, by the numbers, last year,
Okay.
the worst,
The worst.
everyday player in baseball history. Drew, you familiar with baseball? I know you are.
Absolutely.
You played at a high level. He's the worst player ever. Like the worst player that you said that you can think of. He's worse than them.
He's below the Mendoza line?
Slightly.
Okay, there's a guy, I know you know who this guy is. I can't think of his name, though. He does the stats where he can literally predict almost your entire career based on your first 5 years.
Yeah.
He's some real nerd
right, for
from
sure.
Boston. Anyway,
It's good seeing you, Bogey.
you really can tell a lot about, until steroids came along, he could really come very close to predicting after your first 5 years what your career high would be in home runs, maybe your highest average, highest RBIs. If Javi Baez were to come back and hit 300 and hit 25 home runs, it would blow every model out of the water. No one does this. Your OPS doesn't go from 900 to 850 to 680 to 580 to 516 and then back to 900.
In the fours in June last year, by the way. If we're baseball geeking out last year, it was in the fours, Drew. The fours.
No, it's a joke.
But he's back. I was told he's back. Was I
He
lied
is
to?
back.
Okay, this is what I would like to know is someone just simply demanding that we pay him this many dollars, I want him on the field. Does that happen? I mean, is this really all AJ? Does AJ really believe in him? I can't.
No.
We know what it is.
No.
It's the man upstairs, Mr. Chris Illich.
It's God?
I tend to believe that. I mean, I sometimes I believe that. Other times I say, no, there couldn't possibly be something that dumb going on.
Yeah, well, you got to pay him regardless, so why have him on the team at this
I
point?
don't understand. I would buy him out.
Yeah.
No, Drew.
I would.
Look.
I would just pay him off.
Drew, look. Across the street with the Pistons, with Tom Gores, right?
Yeah.
With Monty Williams, who clearly was not working. Tom Gores did not hesitate for a second to write that check. Did not hesitate. Plus 70 million, a little more than 70 million to make him go away. Did not hesitate for a second.
I think it's the right thing to do, Max. I mean, you've played professional hockey for so long. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see the point. In fact, after going through with Miguel Cabrera for the last 6-7 years of his career when he really clogged that lineup up, but I know we wanted to get 500 home runs. We wanted all those things. But after having been through that, to have another guy who's being paid way too much for his current value, it just feels terrible for somebody who's dying to see this team win.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like, the Mickey thing was always going to end like that. The same
Yeah.
way the Pujols thing ended like that. The same way your favorite player in the league's deal, Juan Soto
Right.
deal, is going to end like that.
And don't you
That's-
hate that, though, to see a guy that everyone loves ending his career was like, oh, he's up.
Well,
I mean,
but that's the way it's always going to end, right?
I guess so, yeah, the way people are paid and the long-term contracts, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
So the Mickey thing I can understand, but
No,
like
I do
this
too.
thing, they're not supposed to come in here and be the worst everyday player in the history of baseball, like at 31.
So
at
is it
30.
getting the rest of the toothpaste out of the tube, and is it to the point of until it hinders progress? Because what's the thing now, right?
D-Mac,
because
I don't know.
Verling's out, right? To the fact there's nobody in his place, so it's sort of like the same reason as why Tork's in the lineup and playing first base, because Torres is out in the shuffle around, right? So opportunity there. I think the question is when if you'd sign Bregman as your third base, like there's a spot for him, there's an out for him. I want to see when push gets a shove and they get cornered, are they still going to pay right? They're going to pay him regardless. I know that, but if he's there and he's hindering the team,
Yeah.
D-Mac, you're the athlete. You tell me. Again, I asked you
I
this
don't
before
know.
last week.
Would you want him to take up a roster spot?
I think
Yeah.
Drew's question is it an ownership or a GM? I think it's an ownership
It's gotta
question
be.
more than it
Yeah,
is
'cause-
a GM question, because I think that, the way AJ's just, to me, I see using what he's got at his disposal.
Do you remember last year in the offseason when they tried to sell us that, Javi's working so hard, he's working on this, he's working on that, he's working on learning the strike zone?
Yeah, was
at
that
age
last
30?
year or 2 years ago they were selling this?
Both.
Just like, when
Yeah.
was that? Didn't Javi have a great opening day a few years ago?
He
He
did.
did, yeah, when he
So
first
that's
got here.
where he's going deep today, Drew. Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Plus
KG,
830.
Distinguished
Let's get it.
gentlemen.
Let's
go.
get it. We all the way in.
Let's go.
We all the way in.
We've been sniffing the same glue as Fellhauer. Let's go.
I'm going to die if he hits a home run, I swear. It's going to be so funny.
Yeah, oh, it's going to be
You'll
electric.
never
It's
forget
going to be
me,
great.
Drew, and you're gonna know I'm gonna use some. Hey, big guy, can you do it for the boys? Do it for KG.
Right.
Do
No.
it for sushi lunch.
It will be the home run I will
Do it because
never
Drew will have
forget.
to talk about it on the Drew Lane podcast.
I will.
Opening day
absolutely,
hero.
We talked about.
You can get anywhere: Spotify, Apple.
Yeah.
Amen.
Drew's going to get a text from me right after it happened, just the skull
Yeah.
and crossbones, and that's
Yeah.
it. That's all it's going to
Drew,
be.
why you here? Can we get like a season outlook on the Tigers
Hey,
prediction, maybe?
look,
Sure.
dude, Maz,
What we thinking about?
I think they can win the division. I don't know that they will win the division. I mean,
Yeah.
the division gets stronger and stronger. I think last year in the offseason, it seemed like they did just enough to win the division that they thought they had to win.
Yeah.
And then it turned out the division was a lot better. Somehow they won 34 out of the last 45 games. I'll never believe I witnessed that. That was the most incredible thing. But I think they should be good. I mean, that's why little things like having Baez on this roster make no sense because they're a
Exactly.
team that, like Darren said, they have to do everything right. They should. They're good enough to do that. Whether they have enough offense, I don't know, but they have the pitching to win the division. They could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Drew.
Well, Drew, let's go to the human non sequitur. Of course, it's not miles away.
Drew, your shill
Drew,
is
Mazzy.
hungry. I could hear his third stomach rumbling from here. He's bequesting you into
got a game to go,
the
Drew.
buffet.
I
We
know
got a game to go to.
the buffet will be on the second round by the time we get in there if we don't leave soon, Maz.
Let's go, baby. It's time to assault the buffet.
Are you guys, how long are you guys on the air?
We're done.
Two
Yeah,
more
we're about to be
minutes.
done,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
2
we're
minutes.
done.
2 minutes
Okay.
left.
Hey, Drew, thank you,
Hey,
man.
thank
Good
you
to
for
see
having me
brother.
on. I really
As always.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
appreciate it, man.
All right, there he is.
Thanks, Mac.
Drew Lane, of course, the Drew Lane podcast. You can catch that. I don't need to introduce Drew Lane in this town, man. Drew, thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man. Yep. Yes, sir. I guess that'll do it, right?
Yeah.
Dude, what a good time down in
there's
the
nothing
party.
more we can do. We've done it. We've emptied the chamber
Absolutely.
here
You
today.
got legend Drew Lane. Check out Drew Lane podcast. I listen all the time.
Yeah,
too. He's,
as
he's
do
an
I.
icon, a legend from back in the day when we used to call me and Drapes when we were on the road in the playoffs. So
All right. Well,
that's what Detroit's
I think
all
that's about it, everybody, right? There's nowhere to go from there. Enjoy the baseball today. Big shout out to everybody here. Jars, Mad Packs, of course, White Claw, the Grand Slam Opening Day Festival. Shout out. This place was electric. You guys, if you're in California or Florida or whatever, we're glad we could bring you like a little piece of it. We are, for real. It's going down over there. The Get Right. Tigers on the run line, -1.5, -110. For D-Mac
go.
Darren McCarty, for
Here's
KG, for Jennifer Hammond, for Ryan Ermanni, for Drew Lane,
Raxter Day.
for Spencer
There
Raxter,
he is.
for
Let's
JB
go Tigers,
Smooth,
baby.
for everybody. Thanks for
Spitball.
tapping in, Big D Energy.
Let's go Tigers.
Catch this.
Nobody do it better than Detroit.
Nobody does it better than Detroit. Opening day. Well,